Good morning, students. I want to just take a couple of minutes to go over what we're doing this week since I won't be available to meet with you this evening. So we're on Module 7, July 11th. And just as a quick reminder, the work that was due this past week, you had two things. You were supposed to complete your IRB certification, which I'm confident that everybody was able to do. I didn't hear any questions about that from you. And you also were supposed to submit an approval letter from your administrator, whoever kind of the gatekeeper is in your building for conducting research. And I sent an email out about that, as far as I know some of you would not be able to get that letter approved because your principal may be out of town or any other type of barrier. And I instructed you what to do if that was the case. So this week we are going to focus on, we're going to have some readings in Creswell about action research and experimental design. But what we're going to work on in addition to our readings is we're going to complete or try to polish up the rough draft that you submitted to me 2 weeks ago for your research design proposal, right? And you're going to take the comments that I gave you and you're going to make changes, and then you're going to submit those changes, that kind of quote-unquote final rough draft, to your critical friend. But I want to look at a couple of documents before you start that, just as kind of reminders. So the first thing is that you're going to do, or the first thing I encourage you to do, is to go back and look at the sample paper. Okay, I'm going to try to pull this up. I have several documents open, so just bear with me for a second as I find this sample paper. So the sample paper is back on the sample proposal paper is Module 3, okay? And if you open that one, it will show you what you should be submitting. So if you start at the top, okay, you're going to have a cover page, and then you have an abstract. Generally, the abstract's around 100 to 150 words. Again, limit that to 150 words. Keywords, and then you have what is your introduction. You don't put an introduction at the top. This should be APA formatted. What you put is the title of your paper again, and then you write your introduction. And you can follow along with this, and you see it provides the purpose, it provides a justification, the things that you put in there for your, for your rough draft that you submitted to me that I provided you feedback on, right? Then you're going to have, this time, you're going to have your lit review. So what you turned into me was an annotated bibliography previously. Now you're going to take that and you're going to create a lit review out of it. This is, we read about lit reviews a couple of times already this semester. I believe maybe week 2 and then week 4. Don't quote me on that, but I know that our readings have covered how do you write a lit review, which is not you just sort of kind of picking your annotated bibliography and putting them, together, or taking out the certificate or the citations and writing lit review at the top. It is where you read that those articles, and then you may have to read more articles, and then where you talk about them kind of in themes as it relates to, and you combine them, you use them to create a narrative as it relates to your problem of practice and what the literature has to say with that about that. Nonetheless, you have your literature review section, and you can see how they use headings to break that up as it relates to their question or their questions. Okay, and then the next part that we come to is the research methods and procedures. Now, the research context, and I encourage you to look at how the papers that you have read for your lit review are organized. You can use the headings that are right here, which you'll probably see there is just methods. And then under that, they'll have just sort of a general statement about what the research design is. Is it qualitative? Is it quantitative? Is it mixed methods? What is the research design? Okay, this uses research context. What you will see after that first part in your methods sections in the papers that you read will probably be a section called participants, right? And that's the context part of it. You should provide the context, and you're more than welcome to use the participants heading and talk about, as you see right here, a fifth grade class of approximately 25 students, right? And provide the context of where's this data being collected, right? You see they're talking about this is the school that it's in, and you should provide that information. And then after that, they have a reasons for the research, and then the data collection and analysis selection. One of the things that I really am hoping to see, especially as it relates to this data collection analysis, is you pulling in, and your research design, pulling in your readings here, right? So you should be using the language, when you're talking about surveys, as we see here, talking about ratio scales, Likert scales would be another that, okay, and talking about how those surveys were developed, what those surveys contain, how they're designed, and then how you're going to use them to collect data specifically, and then how you're going to analyze that data, okay? And then after that, the implications and the ethical considerations and the limits. So again, these are all the sections. The only thing that has really changed from what you turned into me previously is you're going to write an abstract. Okay, you are going to put it in APA format with a title page. Okay, and then you are going to, create a literature review, a review of the literature. It's going to take that annotated bibliography and any resources that you've added to that, and you're going to have a reference section. Not including the reference page. This has to be 12 to 15 pages long. And you're going to submit this by Sunday to your critical friend for review. And just kind of a couple of other documents. So we were looking at the sample document. A couple of other documents to look at is the capstone description. So this is the one that appeared at the beginning of the semester. And notice, because there were some questions about what are we doing for this class. And the capstone shows you 601, 601, 601. Okay. And then the data collection doesn't begin until this section, but we're going to talk about how we're going to do that this semester. Okay, and if you scroll through this capstone, you'll see that additional descriptions of those sections are included here. Now, if we go back to the proposal guideline, I have that open. Just go ahead and close that. Oh, I had that open just to make sure. If we look at that proposal, well, since I've got it, so on this week's agenda, you will see guidelines for critical friend critique a proposal draft. And it tells you, it just kind of goes through here and informs you how you should go through this paper and provide feedback. Okay, talking about, that you want to read through the paper twice. First time you'll pay attention to connection of ideas. Is the theoretical conceptual framework clear? Is the organization of the paper clear? Is there too much or too little explained? Typos, check the references, all of that. Okay. Notice up here it says, please make both positive and constructive comments, raise questions, and then complete the assessment rubric. Okay. It tells you to track changes that you've made, right? Must provide a summary with your overall thoughts about the paper and ideas and how to strengthen the paper. Now that checklist or rubric, if we go back to this week's, agenda, that rubric is right here. So here's the guideline for critical friends, and here's the proposal rubric, okay, that you'll use to provide them feedback. Now, the last thing that I wanted to just go back over was that research proposal guidelines, which is under Module 4, okay, which again shows which parts you're doing, right? Problem of practice, literature review, and the project design. Okay. And then it gives you the link, the abstract, the introduction, summary of the literature, methods, and so forth. Okay, so just to use those just to make sure you're getting everything that you're supposed to. So again, this week, go back, utilizing the feedback that I provided you. Okay, you want to revise your paper, want to add an abstract, want to put it all in APA formatting. Then you have to take your annotated bibliography and create a review of literature out of that. And then you're going to submit that by Sunday to your critical friend, and then your critical friend will be providing feedback to you. Okay, hope everybody has a good week. Hope this video will help you with this. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. I've been checking my email and responding every morning. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.